Welcome to the Growth Minded Accountant podcast, where our experts will share best practices on running your firm in the digital age. This podcast is brought to you by CountingWorks Pro. Let's get started.
Welcome to another episode of the Growth Minded Accountant podcast, the podcast for tax and accounting professionals who want to build smarter firms, stronger client relationships, and practices that actually scale. My name is Lee Reams. I am the founder and CEO of CountingWorks and our sister company TaxBuzz, and I'm joined today by my co-host Rebekah Barton, our Chief Visibility Officer here at CountingWorks. Rebekah, if you can say hello.
Hey, everyone.
Yeah, so each episode, especially during tax season, we've been trying to do what we call our micro topics, and we break down ideas that help firms grow through better systems. And this one is kind of about systems, better communication. It's about communication and better ways of thinking about the profession. The topic title is The Secret of Being More Responsive Without Burning Out. So today we're talking about something that shows up constantly in online reviews of our tax and accounting firm. So on TaxBuzz, if you go to Yelp, if you go to Google My Business, or Google Business Profile, whatever they call it now, you will see one theme when people get one-star reviews. It's responsiveness. I never get, I send an email. I never hear from them. They come back 2 weeks later. And it's kind of so prevalent that, and there's some statistics here we'll talk about here as well, but it is the most common negative review you see for tax and accounting firms. So it's not about mistakes. Again, it's about how quickly you respond. So you'll see comments like, hey, my accountant never gets back to me, or it takes days to hear back. And that's somewhat of an interesting thing. So research from Hinge did a big project on this, Research Institute and Bay Street Group, and they show that firms consistently show that the number one reason clients leave professional service firms isn't price and it isn't technical errors. Guess what? It's communication. So when clients feel ignored, they start looking for another firm, right? Even if the work itself is excellent. So here's the reality. Most tax accountants, EAs, CPAs genuinely care about their clients and want to be responsive. Obviously, when you're working 12, 14 hours a day, it's hard, right? So the problem isn't willingness. The problem is structure. And that's what we're going to talk about today, because when responsiveness relies entirely on the accountant personally replying to every email, every message, every question, things start to pile up, right? So one request is manageable. 10 requests become stressful. And that's when you start putting your to-do list over to the side. And you're like, by the time you look at it, it's 50. It's the way I deal with my email box today, to be honest with you. So by the time you actually get to it, there's 50 requests there. And during tax season, that obviously can become extremely overwhelming. So that's when responsiveness starts to break down. So the real question isn't whether firms should be responsive. Obviously, yes. The real question is, how do you build a firm where responsiveness actually scales? So as usual, I like to break these into sections. And the first one is setting expectations early. And I think this is a really important thing that a lot of people miss, right? So in the first place you start, expectations. Many firms unintentionally leave communication expectations undefined. So think about it. If you're not talking about this in your engagement letter, perhaps your marketing material, clients don't know, how does communication work? How quickly should I get a response? What is typical? When should questions be asked? What is free? What is chargeable, right? And how collaboration works throughout the year. So they default to urgency, and that's the biggest issue. Everything is almost it's like calling the fire department, man. It's very reactionary. So every question feels like they need an immediate response, right? So growth-minded firms set expectations early. They communicate this in your engagement letters. They communicate this in their proposals. They outline it during onboarding, right? They even have a section on their website that says, how do we work? And kind of shows the clients, this is path A, start here, all the way through. And many reinforce it, right? You reinforce it through communication. You make it clear, and it becomes a much healthier relationship. You don't feel slighted. You don't feel taken advantage. And at the same time, the client's not sitting there going, why hasn't they responded in 10 minutes, right? So, Rebekah, this is where I believe branding and visibility really plays a role, because firms often assume clients understand how the firm operates. They don't have an inside look of how your, machine works, your technology works. But clients only know how well you clearly communicate. So Rebekah, kind of take this and expand here a little bit.
Yeah, so clients really experience your firm and how it works long before they reach out to you. We've established in past podcasts, and you probably know from personal experience, most people are visiting your website, they're reading your reviews, they're going to your social media long before they ever reach out. So that gives you an opportunity to really set the stage for how communication works at your firm, how responsiveness works, when people can expect a response. All of these things should be laid out ahead of time. So, like Lee was mentioning, your website, your proposal, your onboarding process, all of those are touch points where you can explain to people how communication works. And if you don't communicate how your firm functions, people are going to default to that red flag, 7 alarm urgency. And that's what we don't want, right? So you need to explain things like, how does communication flow at your firm? Where should people contact you? Should they call? Should they email? Do you have a text number? Some people prefer text messaging these days. So whatever the situation is, you need to clearly lay out how your availability works and also how collaboration works throughout the year. Some firms are available all year long. Some have limited hours outside of tax season. Some aren't open at all outside of tax season. So you need to make sure that your clients are very, very aware of what communication looks like for you. It's also really important to note that responsiveness and availability are not the same. Responsiveness means that the client is going to feel acknowledged, they're going to feel heard, they're going to feel well informed, you're staying on top of things, you're communicating with them in a timely fashion that aligns with the process you've already set forth. Availability means that your clients kind of expect you to drop everything for them no matter what's going on, whether or not it's a real emergency. So basically, responsiveness is a promise that your brand is making. Hey, we will answer you in this time frame via these means. We are here for you. Constant availability, though, that's a work-life boundary problem, and that's what leads to burnout, which is what we're trying to help you avoid with this particular podcast.
Yeah, and I think the constant availability isn't just work-life balance. It's work balance, meaning if you are working on specific engagements or tasks, and in between you're interrupted, and then you're doing responsive, client hub messages are coming in, and you're writing responses in between, you're less efficient overall. So it's good. Like everyone likes to put, do not disturb. I'm heads down right now. I'm trying to figure out, finish some tasks. And I think that's kind of where we're getting at, where, if you are constantly available and you're just putting out fires or answering things, you're never going to get real work done. So that is why it's difficult to keep up with this volume, right? So it's rarely, one question from one client, and it multiplies, right? It's multiple questions from multiple clients. And during tax season, those requests can stack up quickly. So emails, portal messages, documents that need clarification. So without systems organizing that communication, the to-do list grows faster than you can keep up with, right? So that's when firms start feeling reactive instead of intentional. So I do believe, and this is the one use of technology and modern tools, they can make a big difference when it comes to responsiveness and having a system that can scale. So today, firms, you can use systems that will be managed communication in a much more structured way. So for example, communication system can draft responses automatically. Think about it. Overnight, you get 10 responses. You come in at 8 in the morning or 7 or 6 in the morning, whenever you start, and you have 10, 15 messages in your client hub. Modern technology can automatically do the research, especially if it's a tax, type of knowledge base, do the research, what that inquiry was about, actually draft and write the response to the client in your tone, the way you want it, the way you speak, your personality, kind of the same, the way you write, basically. And then in the morning, you could have, let's say, 10 messages. Maybe 2 of those were, I want to reschedule my appointments. Technology should have been able to do that for you as well. And now you could just review as a human, is this accurate? Is this, I want to add anything? You can use technology to kind of redraft it if you want. But if you think about it, you just took something that may have taken you hours and hours and hours into a 15-minute task in the morning. So all you're doing at that point, you're simply reviewing, you're editing, you're sending, right? The client receives a quick response. You, the professional, the firm, saves time. And that is the way that work stays organized. So transparency also plays a role. When a client log into the portal and they see a status of the documents or requests, they don't feel the need to send multiple emails asking for updates. So if your system is able to communicate kind of the flow, we're in stage 3 right now. This is in review. That visibility in itself becomes a form of responsiveness. So that was 2 concrete examples of how technology, your tech stack, can start making you look superhuman. We've been talking a lot about how solopreneurs, small firms have the biggest opportunity, I think, of all times because of technology. You can act what a solo firm could be, what a 3-person firm was before. A 3-person firm could do what 10 people did before with the right tech stack, with the right systems. It's not just having technology and having, I've seen people that come in, I have 12 apps and they don't talk to each other. It's kind of dysfunctional. Half the people don't even know how to use them. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about super simple, smart systems that help you scale. And that's a perfect example. So, and I wanted to kind of say here, sometimes responsiveness also is just simple acknowledgement. And this is what I mean. So a message like, hey, thanks, we received your documents or your message, and we'll review them and respond by Thursday. So instead of giving 2 more messages, did you get this? Are you working on this between Monday when the client sent it and the Thursday when you said you're going to do it? That one reply can put them off. And that is, hey, okay, I don't have to worry about it, client says, right? In their mind, they're all stressed. Are they doing anything? Is there an emergency? You know exactly what I'm talking about. It's the hang up to your voice messages, right? Call back, call back, call back. And you're trying to help ease everybody, right? So that simple message buys you time to focus on the work while the client feels completely taken care of. So it's a small system change that makes a huge difference. I've seen this a lot, especially on LinkedIn and communication, is about scope creep and collaboration. So when you don't have a communication system in place, you see scope creep. You really do. Clients start asking questions that go beyond the original engagement. So is your engagement letter is one template for everybody, or are you using technology to personalize that for every single client? Certain types of services might have different breadth of what you do, but do you define, I'm responsible for this. This is our response rates. This is what your responsibility. With that structure, what you'll see is requests start slowly accumulating, right? And then are they billable? Are they not billable? Are they inside a scope of work or not? And that's when you start seeing leakage on your revenue, right? And more importantly, your time. So when communication workflows are organized, it becomes much easier to guide those conversations. Clients understand then what's included. They understand when something becomes advisory work. So it's outside of the compliance side. That is an upsell. I'm going to have to pay for that, right? And that's when I think the relationship starts feeling more partnership, collaborative, rather than reactive, fire alarm, and those boundaries become much easier to manage. So this is, again, another quick one. I went through a bunch of different takeaways. I think you get 4 or 5 from this webinar, this podcast, that you can take and put into your practice today, really. So responsiveness matters. Clients obviously value it. And firms should absolutely strive to be responsive, but responsiveness should not rely on constant heroics. You don't have to immediately, respond to every message in 5 minutes, right? The idea is let's set the stage. This is how we work. This is how we are efficient. And I think that will help you become much more productive on your own time. So growth-minded firms help build responsiveness into their systems. They set expectations early. They communicate their process clearly and on their website, right, Rebekah, in their other proposals, engagement letters, and they use technologies to support this flow of communication. So when that happens, responsiveness actually improves. And more importantly, you're not going to see a bunch of 1-star reviews that my accountant doesn't respond to me. And I don't want you burning out, right, trying to keep up. This is really important. So, what would you add, Rebekah, kind of from a client experience standpoint?
So this is a structure that's going to actually build trust with your clients over time. They're going to feel really taken care of. That's going to lead to loyalty. They're going to stay with you for a long time. They're going to recommend you to people they know because you have a process that they really understand and that makes them feel comfortable and taken care of, not just at tax season, but all year round. Whatever they need from you, they know how you operate. They know the clarity. basically, about what to expect when they interact with you or with your staff members. And that's going to strengthen that professional relationship, and it's going to really give you a loyal client base over time.
All right. So the goal isn't just to respond faster. The goal is to build a firm that responsiveness scales. And then when that happens, I think both you, your partners, your staff will be much happier, and more importantly, the client will benefit. So that wraps up this edition of the Growth Minded Accountant podcast. Again, during tax season, we're trying to keep these a little shorter, things that you can actually put into your tax practice today, this week, and save time. So we hope you appreciate it. Again, thank you for listening and being a follower of the Growth Minded Accountant podcast. Until next week, keep charging along, March 11th. So you're so close to the end. And I hope you're having a very successful tax season so far. Thank you again.